G'day viewers, welcome to the end of another week, which means it's time for Totally Fucked Up Friday. There's probably not chroma key happening behind me. Maybe there is, I'm not sure until I get into post-production, so I can't tell you now. All I can say is it's hot as balls, and so I'm not switching my studio lights on, which are just cheap-ass work lights which throw out heaps of heat, and I can't fucking deal with that right now. After weeks of bizarrely unseasonable cool weather in Melbourne while the rest of Australia was having heat waves, we finally got hot weather the last couple of days, and we appear to be getting a brief respite on the weekend, and then all next week is like 35 to 40 plus Celsius until by about Friday. I think the official prediction for weather is, where is your God now? Not looking forward to that. But for tonight, look, let's talk about what was fucked up this week. Like, hey, how did the Australian government go with making me fucking hate them this week? Well, I've been talking a lot about Corey Bernardi, who seemed to be fighting for the mantle of biggest fuckhead in the government. And that's a hard-fought battle, and some strong fight back late in the week from the Prime Minister himself, Tony Abbott, who says that his A, horrifically barbaric attitude to asylum seekers is justified, and B, his lies and secrecy about it is justified, because it's like war. You know what? In war, you don't let your secrets out. Before the election, he was all about, we're going to stop the boats. That's our central thing. We've wound you redneck fucksticks up into a frenzy about the fact that these people who are fleeing persecution, torture, murder, rape, they're your worst nightmare. Yeah, the fact these people are willing to risk their lives, you know, they're a threat to you. And it appears the Australian populace has eaten this up with a fucking spoon, with a recent survey suggesting 60% of the population thinks we should be even worse to asylum seekers. It just goes to show, if both major political parties and all media outlets repeat shameless fucking lies, shit-eating members of the public swallow it up wholesale. Who knew? Who knew when people weren't given any other information? That's the way they go. But anyway, Abbott has said, even though he built his entire election campaign around stopping the boats, now they refuse to even talk about what they're doing and how much they're fucking up their campaign to stop asylum seekers. It's because we can't tell them what we're doing, because that's like giving out secrets in war. Yes, civilians fleeing war, that's who we're at war with, because we're not fucked enough now that the weakest, most vulnerable people on the planet, that's who we have to declare our enemy. Tony Abbott, you piece of fucking shit. And he was not alone. My personal favourite whipping boy, and that's how he likes to refer to himself, Christopher Pyne, made a sterling effort. He's Minister for Education. You see, education is always a political football everywhere in the world. People think, oh, you're not teaching the right things. You're not telling kids the right things. Oh, you're biased this way. You're biased that way. It is a thing around the world. Education is a political football. I acknowledge that. But the previous government published a report. It's about 5 years in the making of an independent group of people saying, this is where we think education in Australia should go. So this is done independently, and all the states, including the Conservative state governments who signed on to it, then get shafted by the Conservative federal government and go, oh no, we're going to throw that away. I just heard the weirdest shit at my door. Brief edit there. I left the door to the shed, aka my studio, open because it's really hot and the breeze made the creaky door creak, and I've had a few drinks. It's Friday and I started to think there was an axe murderer at the door. That was just where my head went. There was an axe murderer at the door. Shut up, okay? Don't judge me. You don't know me. You're not my real dad, okay? So yeah, I was talking about education. So Pyne and his cronies have decided, oh yeah, there may have been this independent study that went for 5 years. But me and my hack friends think after 6 months we know better. I'm going to appoint these independent people who's actually, a member. They've worked for my political party. It bugs me. Like I said, I acknowledge education's a political football, but when someone directly says, you know what, I think I want the schools to be teaching directly to my political bias, it's just fucked up. And forget all the stuff about cultures and which culture should be represented and which shouldn't. The one thing he did that pissed me off, just out of the blue, he said, oh, we should teach, Anzac Day should be a big thing. 2 points. A, it already is. B, do you know who really, 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 really never wanted Anzac Day to be idolised and be focused on by the Australian public? Anzac veterans. Everything the Conservatives and their cronies say about Anzac Day is a fucking lie and an outright fucking insult to the veterans of Anzac Day. They were the ones who said, please don't focus on that. Honestly, it was a fuck up. It was awful. It was a failure. Okay? And look, honestly, if you want to promote military glory, the Anzac campaign was a failure. And you know what? The veterans of Gallipoli did not come home to Australia after that debacle. They weren't that lucky, unless they were injured, as so many of them were. No, they went on to Europe. They went on to the Somme and all those other horrible battlefields, where if you want to glorify military things, they actually performed really well, punching above their weight, as it were, in terms of successes. So why the fuck would you focus on a campaign that the people who were involved in don't want focused on? Possibly because you're a shit-eating, lying fuckhead. That's just my theory. We'll see how this plays out. But, it's not just Australian politics that's fucked. There was a story that really gave me a bit of a giggle from the US. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. He's actually fairly popular, and he gets a bit of respect from both sides of politics. But he tends, if you look at the evidence, he doesn't like people who don't support him. He's not very forgiving. And an incident happened in September last year where a couple lanes were closed on the George Washington Bridge that goes between New Jersey and New York. The New Jersey-New York Port Authority said, oh, we're doing a traffic study, we have to close these. And a lot of people said, this is some bullshit, what's going on here? And it fucked up traffic, particularly backing into a city called Fort Lee. And the mayor of Fort Lee was a prominent supporter of Christie's opponent in the state governor race. And Christie kept saying, it's not about that. It's not payback. Oh, you people are obsessed. What's wrong with you? Right up to the point where this week emails have come out where a whole bunch of Christie's staffers have made it clear they were explicitly doing this as payback on the mayor of Fort Lee. Emails saying things like, time to fuck up Fort Lee. Like, yeah, let's screw. It's just, and Christie's going, I had no idea. I had no idea that everyone on my staff was doing the thing I said no one on my staff were doing. This is not over yet, and it's probably going to embarrass him for a while longer, but it's really friggin' weird, and I have to admit, although it's fucked up, it really gave me a bit of a smile. But look, let's move away from politics. Let's move on to just fucked up things happening to individuals. Darwin in Australia, the far north. It's crazy up there. I've been there. It's a lovely city. Yeah, it's very humid. It's very tropical. Lots of wildlife. You got to worry about crocodiles and snakes and bugs. And a guy has just sort of made an unofficial record for the largest cockroach being extracted from his ear. And everything about this story is fantastic. Like, the guy woke up, he's going, ow, there's some horrible pain in me. I'm pretty sure it's just like, he's just instinctively gone, I'm in Darwin, bugs everywhere, something's stabbing my ear, I think a bug's got in there. He was right, but he's moved to try and get it out. He stuck a vacuum cleaner on his ear to try and get it out. I was like, there are so many things that could go wrong with it. I have to admit, myself, that's not something I'd do, the old vacuum on the ear. But he did eventually go to his doctor, who like injected olive oil, which apparently aggravated the cockroach for a while and it burrowed deeper. But then it died, and the doctor pulled it out and said something to the effect of, you know what? I said it was probably a small cockroach. Not that small. That's kind of icky, quite honestly. And the guy whose name is Hendrik Helmer said, yeah, look, okay, shit happens. I'm not changing my life for fucking cockroaches. Why would I do that? You know, I'm going to live my life as normal. Even though he said some of his friends have said, I am so freaked out, I'm gonna sleep with earplugs or headphones on. I don't want cockroaches in my ear. But not Hendrik, because you know what? He's not a pussy. When a cockroach gets burrowing into his brain, he just sticks a vacuum on it. Because that's what you do when you live in places like Darwin. And that's not even the most fucked up story of the week. It's very, very early in the year, but at this very early stage, I'm prepared to nominate a TFU Hall of Famer. It will take some doing for anyone to outdo this all year for fucked up. And it's because of the real classic TFU stories have multiple components in them. And this one, it starts off really good with a headline. It happened in New Mexico in the US, where a woman threatened her lover with a gun that she'd had in her vagina. That's pretty good, right? But it just, it's all sorts of colour. Apparently, for a while, it seems like when she's trying to turn the guy on, she's wearing a negligee and she was masturbating with the gun. But then, my personal favourite moment of the whole thing is when she pulls the gun and then she points it at her lover's head and says, "Who's crazy, you or me?" And it appears the victim may have been wise enough to say nothing. See, guys, you've got to learn certain things with women when you can and can't say things. You know, when they say everything's fine, you know nothing's fine. When they say, no, don't worry about it, you know you have to worry about it. When they point a fucking gun at you, that they've had in their vagina and say, who's crazy, you or me, don't answer.